Hi, everybody. Here I am to take your questions. You guys tend to like when I do these on the weekend, so here you go. I just did a longer video about when women do not want any romance at all. So usually this came again from the Facebook secret group. You guys should join the Facebook secret group. Obviously, I get a lot of my topics out of there, and I engage more on those threads. Sometimes people randomly email me or message me. I'm not going to message you back and forth. Obviously, I got a lot more stuff to do. But if you're part of the group, then I do engage on those threads. And of course, you could always schedule a session if I have availability. But so increase in guys that want to message back and forth. We're not going to message back and forth, right? I mean, we could message to schedule a session or to tell you who my therapists are, but we're not, it's not instant friend, it's not like that. So point being, in the Facebook group, we were talking about the situation where a guy sulks when he doesn't have sex, right? And many women, myself included, said that's never appropriate to be sulky or act angry, huffy, throw yourself kind of around and be fine and raise your voice and stuff. That is never appropriate behavior. I have podcasts on why women don't like angry men. It's never going to get you laid. If it does, it is she has lost all respect for you and is just doing it to appease you. Not the kind of sex you want. But anyway, in that, somebody was well, what if I just didn't want to be romantic? And I was I make that analogy all the time, right? Between sex and romance. But there's some women that don't want sex or romance. So what do you do in that situation? Well, in that situation, you got to think, does this person want to be married to me? And you have to start that conversation. Because not a lot, but there are women, right? I guess a lot, because, women initiate divorce more. So there is a phase before that where the woman is basically kind of wanting to be divorced but live in the same house, just not to disrupt anything with the children, and doesn't want anything from you. So you don't really have a leg to stand on. You can't ask for sex, because then you won't do romance, because she doesn't want romance. She doesn't want anything. She doesn't want sex. She doesn't want romance. She doesn't really want to see you around. It's become such an unlivable romantic situation for her that she just basically wants to be divorced in the same house. So at that point, you might want to start a conversation. If you realize that your wife wants nothing from you at all, she probably doesn't want to be married, right? So, that's when you get into couples counseling yesterday in that situation, but with the second best being now. And you try to work on it, or you just start the conversation of, are we even having a marriage right now? Is this even a relationship? So I see a lot of you watching, so please say hi. Send me your likes if you are watching. That allows me to keep on doing these, because more and more people see Dr. Psych Mom. And so I get a lot more. It's more fun and more engagement. And you can ask me your questions in the thread whenever you want. Now, later, or whatever. So much more fun when you guys comment. You could comment on this. You could comment on anything else, or now's your time. I said I do not message back and forth with people, and I do not. But I do answer these questions. So I do have these lives, and I do these many days in the week. So you guys can answer your questions here. And that's been very useful. Some people have told me that they look forward to the lives because then they could ask their question. And if you follow me, then you're notified when I go live. So then you can come over and ask your question. So definitely, I see 30 people watching. So send your likes, and most importantly, leave me your comments right now so that you could tell me what you're interested in hearing about, or I could answer questions about your own relationship, or you could comment on stuff that I've done in the reels that you want more clarification on, or whatever you want. 36 people, 38 people. Wow, lots of people watching. So definitely I'd like to see some comments in the links, or rather some questions in the comments, because that's a lot more fun. 45, 48, lots of you. Here's one. Hey, Clive, what's up, man? Thanks for commenting all the time. Was really useful to hear you talk about first session and couples counseling the other day. Be great to hear how the next few sessions typically pan out. So every couples counselor is different, Clive. I could just tell you what I know, what I do. In the first 3 sessions, we have 1 session together and then 1 with each person individually so that I could hear more about what each person is saying. And of course, if there was something like infidelity disclosed or some big secret, it's already in the paperwork that I can't keep that a secret from the other person because then I ally more with one than the other, and that's just not cool. But nobody really ever does that. And so in the first few sessions, I do 1 intake where I get both people talking about the relationship. Then each person gives me their perspective in an individual session. Then we reconnect, and I talk about my perspectives on what each person has said, although I have been giving that feedback throughout. And then we assess the next directions, the frequency. It's either once a week or once every other week based on what the person can do and also the budget and whatever else. But generally, if they're in crisis, would be weekly. And then we go from there, you know, and we're doing all sorts of things, looking at the families of origin, looking at where people learned how to think, how they think now, the dynamics, when they started, what, you know, just getting deeper into what each person's thinking and feeling, what they want out of the relationship. I give homework assignments. I have people read books. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. So yeah, Clive, that's pretty much it. Thank you for the question. You could ask any follow-up questions you have. Don sent stars. Thank you, Don, so much. If anybody sees stars, please send stars. That's a very nice way to support me. Stars are a penny each. Hugh says, what's your opinion on long-distance relationships? I have a post to you that on when your marriage is disappointing or dysfunctional after years of long distance. Many people find themselves in that situation, particularly in the sexual realm, because, you know, if you see somebody twice a month and then you have big sex weekends each time, like the guy or the higher libido partner may think that it's just going to be like that forever. And it's basically that person wants to have sex twice a month, you know? So, and also on the other side, like somebody could be real romantic if they don't see you very much, but then they're not really a romantic person. So long distance relationships can, you know, they're generally not as good for really seeing what it's going to be like with the person. So I end up with a lot of people in marital counseling after long distance relationships. Somebody said, hi from New Jersey. Hi from Wales, UK. Hi, Olga. Hi, Hugh. Hi, New Zealand. Who's the New Zealand person? Hi, Molly. Good afternoon. Hi, Robert from Florida. And there's Griff from New Zealand. Thank you so much, guys, for following. That's awesome. Mary says, is it normal to close off sexually from your husband as a result of never feeling desired by him? Yeah, obviously. Of course, that just makes sense, right? I mean, like if he keeps rejecting you, this happens to guys all the time, right? So there's a lot of guys who get rejected constantly and then they just turn to porn, you know, or they just get depressed. Like nobody's going to keep banging their head into a wall. It's the same thing as happens. Those kind of people who get into those relationships already know that feeling, right? Because it's like how it was when you were a kid, right? You were kept trying to get attention from your parent and eventually you were like, oh, that's a stone wall, so I can't. So it's the same thing happening right now with your husband. And those are the only people who get into relationships like yours. So I'm pretty confident saying that I know that you had that, you know, in your upbringing. Chad says, howdy from Tulsa. Hi, Chad. Thank you for saying hello. Tulsa is cool. But yeah, in general, if you have a disappointing rejecting relationship where you're consistently getting rejected from a significant other, you got to look into your family of origin. It's familiar for some reason. Otherwise, you wouldn't have stayed as long as you did. Nobody would. And that's how insecurely attached people end up with each other. It's very familiar to them. It's familiar that relationships suck and humans are disappointing and you can't trust anybody. And they learn those things and then they find people who confirm that way of thinking about the world and then they exacerbate each other within the relationship and they conclude that they were right. Every relationship is disappointing, you know, and that's what happens. Hugh says, is it normal in a long-distance relationship that you could have jealous feelings? Yeah, it's normal. What do you mean? Like, for a guy who's preoccupied attachment, he can have jealous feelings when the woman's next to him, when the woman is in the next room, or when the woman lives across the country. I mean, so I wouldn't look at the long distance for the reason, Hugh, right? It would be internally, and I would look up preoccupied attachment. I have a lot of stuff on that. You're welcome, Mary. Yeah, good questions, guys. There's about 50 of you watching, so please send your likes, and please give me some more questions. So it's always much more fun when it moves quickly. This is actually why I like working with couples. With couple sessions, things move quickly. But I like working with my individual clients as well. So I have a spammer that is telling me to go to the Bible. Let's ban this person. Okay, good. All right, more questions from people who are not spamming. I have some good podcast episodes coming out. I don't know what was the most recent one. I don't generally like to just tell you guys shit, but nobody's asking anything. Oh, it was Remember There's a Little Honeymoon stage every month, and it was all about ovulation. It's one of my paid episodes, and you should really listen to it if you want to know what it feels like to be an ovulating woman. And to answer your question, no, if your wife is on hormonal birth control, it is not going to be the same. And if she's postmenopause, then it's not going to be the same. Hugh says, what about the jealousy of the lady? So Hugh, jealousy does not have to do with where you live. Jealousy is something that the person is. So if she's jealous now, she's going to be jealous when you live with her too. You know, so, you know, just think about that and look up attachment styles, right? Look up all my stuff on attachment because that's what's going on. It has nothing, plenty of people are in long distance relationships and trust each other implicitly. There is no specific circumstance that's going to make somebody more or less jealous if that's how they are, you know? You know, it's just, it's a way people are. Molly says, have you found children growing up in military families negatively impacts their later relationships? No, I have not found that. It's like I just said to Hugh about long distance relationships. It's so much more about the personalities of the people involved than about any external circumstance. You know, like I heard Esther Perel talk years ago at a conference, and she was saying how her parents were Holocaust survivors, and there was basically two kinds of Holocaust survivors from her experience, and that was, and I know about this a lot, I'm Jewish, I've worked with people who were raised by Holocaust survivors. There's a good book, Children of the Holocaust. But anyway, she was saying that people either become very joyless and very paranoid, or they become people who want to seize the day, and they survived, so they want to experience everything in the world, and they're more joyful. So basically any situation, you could have so many ways to respond to it based on how you are. So long distance, military, anything, you know. Having kids for some couples brings them closer. For some couples, it breaks them up and stresses them. It's just so individual. Alan says, how long should any couple wait for sex? I say 2 months. Well, then you wait 2 months, Alan. It is, again, very individual. For people that are back on the dating market after divorce, if you're a highly sexual person, you're probably not going to wait more than a few dates to assess compatibility in that domain. I certainly would not and did not. But I mean, you do whatever you want, Alan. I mean, if you want a high libido woman, she's probably not going to want to wait forever. But depending on what age she is, if you're older and she's an older high libido woman, maybe she will. Maybe she'll think that means she's a good person. I don't know. It's all very individual. If you're waiting months and months and months as an adult, I could not imagine that would concord with somebody who's like very into sex. But, you know, that's usually what I say is after a few dates, if somebody doesn't want to have sex, well, then they kind of probably not going to want to have sex. But, you know, again, things are individual. Molly says, I have family who are children of Holocaust survivors. That makes sense in so many instances, and children with somebody else is so difficult. Yes, I meant children with anybody, like couples who have children like together. You know, having a baby can bring some couples closer and some couples drive them apart. But thank you, Molly. And you should read that book, Children of the Holocaust. Ron says, how do you give trust again? I don't understand. How do you trust somebody again after an affair? I have posted some podcasts on recovering after infidelity. And obviously the person has to apologize and really want to move forward. And both people have to learn how their behavior led to the affair. And you could read, I present on this. I did continuing education on recovering from infidelity. If anybody is a therapist, I can always link you to that to get your CE hours. But you could also read the book State of Affairs by Esther Perel. Robert says, just lurking, just saying hi. Well, thank you for saying hi, Robert. Every comment is nice to see. So feel free to ask a question, too. Olga says, how can I get my man to be more comfortable with touching me spontaneously? Okay, please tell me you're not married, right? My man means he's your boyfriend. He's your boyfriend, right? And how many months are you with this boyfriend? I'm hoping is a boyfriend. Olga, get back to me on that one. Oh, God, it tells me his parents never touched or kissed and also never touched or kissed him. There was no affection in the house. So you're saying, so I hope the question is, should I stay with this man with deep-seated attachment issues that even in the earliest stages of the relationship, I'm begging to touch me? And 4 years. Are you married? Do you have children? Maybe you're young. Maybe you don't have children. Let's see. We're gunning for you, Olga. How does childhood trauma affect relationships? Hugh, that is really beyond the purview of this. I have multiple articles on that. How your partner's sexual abuse history affects her, how a partner's childhood abuse history. Suffice it to say that it's very hard to trust and open up if you've been traumatized in relationships. Would I do a show with Perel? Okay, Alan, that's a very cute question. Alan here thinks I'm a lot more famous than I am. So, Alan, there's Esther Perel, right? And, like, here's me, except this hand is, like, underneath into the molten core of the earth. So that's where she and I compare in the famous, comparison. So Esther Perel's not asking to do a show with me, but that is a very sweet question. And I would love to do a show with her. But, when Jenna Jameson comes to have sex with you is when Esther Perel's going to ask to do a show with me. No offense to either of us, Alan. Olga said she's not married, no kids. Okay, Olga, well, girl, go into individual therapy starting, like, literally ASAP and figure out why you're staying in this situation. I assume that you did not have world's best childhood, as many of us did not. And you somehow have so he's your imago because he's a guy that does not meet your needs, right? And so this makes sense to you given all the time that happened to you as a kid, right? So somebody would be, just not able to meet your needs, what you needed. And so this is super familiar to you, feels like home, but it's not going to get better. It does not. If honeymoon stage guy will not be touching you spontaneously, how's he going to act later on when he's out of the honeymoon stage? Worse. It's going to be ships in the night, and you're going to think, why did I marry this man? I knew from the beginning that it wasn't good, right? So in this domain. And so if it's not used to you to feel loved in a relationship, you should listen to so much of my stuff. But I have like, if your boyfriend won't go down on you, I have that one as a podcast. When your husband won't have sex, people with no kids shouldn't stay in sexless marriages. Like, I have all sorts of podcasts and posts about it. But I think, Olga, that individual therapy would be great to figure out why you would be in a situation with a man who you have to beg to touch you, Clive says, famous soon. Dr. Phil ain't got nothing on you. I got my top fans here, it seems. Alan says, I think red is your color. I love it. It's mine, too. Thank you, Alan. Esther Perel and I will wear red on our show that will never happen. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, almost 60 people watching. So does anybody have any more comments or questions? Molly says, how do I make my 3-year-old just wait for dinner after snack time? Well, I have something called LMAO parenting. Leave mommy alone or else. I have an article about that. You just, like, literally don't give them a snack. You say, we're waiting for dinner. I mean, I don't know how long you're trying to make your 3-year-old wait, right? So they could wait an hour. If you're trying to make them wait, like, so long, then, you're going to have to do something, like take them to the park, take them outside, do something, like anybody. You would want to distract them. But you could definitely make a 3-year-old wait between snack and dinner. I mean, I've done that myself. I've had 3-3-year-olds. So I would need to know a lot more about that. That would be a good one for the secret group if you join that to bring up. And a lot of people, a lot of us moms and dads in there would be happy to tell you what we think. Eric says, have you been through perimenopause? So, Eric, that is a personal question, but I am in my 40s, so I'm 42, right? So it's about 10 years away till average age of menopause. But in general, when you speak to women, don't ask them about themselves. You could ask the next part of the question, and that's just humans, not just women. Curious because my wife is in it, and will intimacy ever come back? So the way to phrase that, Eric, is, do you have any resources on perimenopause? My wife's libido is low. And then I would say, Eric, I do. I have lots of stuff. I have When Women's Brains and Bodies Change in Their 40s, so you can look up that one. I have Menopause and When It Leads to the End of Sex. You could look up that podcast. What Aging Feels Like for Women. That's a podcast. So go on to this, get the Spotify app, go to the Dr. Psych Mom Show, and in the search bar on the Spotify app, within the Dr. Psych Mom Show, look for 40s. Type that word in, and then you'll get it. Molly said it's only 45 minutes. Well, just take her outside or do something. I mean, it's just, if it's not an option, then it's just not an option. 45 minutes, certainly. And by the way, if you don't feed her 45 minutes before dinner, she's going to be a lot hungrier for dinner. So if you have any problems, so a lot of people have trouble feeding their kids. They're like, oh, she's a toddler, she's not hungry for dinner. I'm like, when did she last eat? They're like, oh, she eats all afternoon. I'm like, well, would you be hungry for dinner if you ate all afternoon? I mean, it's a human being, you know. So if you stop with the snack, she may eat a lot of dinner. Eric says, thank you, should have rephrased. It's okay, Eric. The thing is when you do anything in public, men especially seem to think that it's like, hey, they could say anything, message you any which way, ask about my sex life. And that's just not cool. But I appreciate the apology. It's no biggie. I did direct you to multiple valuable resources, so I do hope that you follow up with that, Eric. I have a lot of info on perimenopause. Molly says, that's our big push right now. He only gets a little snack at 3:30, then we eat around 5 or 6. All right, that sounds good. Sounds like pretty normal. Kids should definitely be able to wait that long and be hungry when they eat, and that's great. So good job there with your snacking and dinnering and everything. With the kids are tough. My kids, I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore, but I still do have my son have an after-school snack. He's 10. Sometimes my girls have an after-school snack. Great. So any more questions that do not involve my personal internal biology? You guys should all, Eric there, you should still join the secret group. You could ask in there about women's experiences and the aggregate of aging. Aging hits everybody. Aging comes to everybody. Men, women. Men think they have the same sex drive. They think they have the same sex drive as when they're 20 because they are looking at porn constantly. When they stop looking at porn and they stop getting fluffed up and primed by porn, their sex drive goes down quite a bit because it was artificially inflated. So humans are not expected to have the same sex drive when they're 50 as when they're 20. Does anybody know why? All right, Craig. What are your thoughts on workplace relationships? Okay or not a good idea? I would need so much more info, Craig. I mean, but I would say that is a lawsuit waiting to happen, and power differentials, and you could get fired, and don't shit where you eat. And there's like, you know, I mean, if you're asking me, you probably already started it. So, I mean, I would just say damage control at this point. But no, I would not say that is the world's best idea, obviously. And sometimes it could be a very terrible, unethical idea that gets you fired. So I would say there's plenty of fish in the sea. It doesn't need to be a fish that's working with you. It could be anybody else. Molly says, because you don't need to make babies at 50. Correct, Molly. So neither gender human will have the same sex drive at 50 as they did at 20 unless they're taking a massive amount of hormones, you know, enough to make them act pretty nuts, you know, and aggressive and irritable and what have you. There is no reason, and it is not true, you know, that anybody should have the same level of any hormone at 50 as they do at 20. Whenever people think that they're still like young at 40 and 50, I'm like, do you remember when you were 20 and you saw a 40-year-old in the club? Did you think, oh, that's cool, they're just like me? Or did you think, WTF? Because that's what I thought, and that's what young people think now. So it's very important to kind of assess your age and your stage. Honestly, And then that can help with self-acceptance and with acceptance of your spouse. Your wife who's 40 should not act like a woman who's 20. And your wife who's 60 should not act like a woman who's 40 or 20. You know, people change and they grow and they mature and they evolve and they go into different stages of life. Of course, you could still have a wonderful and close, intimate relationship at any age, but it's not going to look the same in every decade of life. Just isn't. Alan says, I think you and Rudy and Ralph for relationship dynamic shows are the tops. Thank you. I don't know who Rudy is, but I think you mean Ralph is DSO, right? And I do like him. He's a friend. So that's nice. He's the only person I ever do lives with. So yeah. Great. Any more questions, guys? And thanks for watching, everybody. Please send likes. Send likes. I've been getting a lot of likes on these. If I get enough likes on my lives and I get to put ads on my lives, wouldn't that be cool for me? Yes, it would be. But I'm nowhere near there yet. I need to have like so many more viewers on these, probably. But either way, I can try. So the more likes you give me, then the better it is for Dr. Psych Mom. Doug says, I know it's way fucking better now. I don't know what you're talking about, but LOL, would love ads. Well, you may not, Molly, but I would, and it would make me want to do these all the time if I was actually getting paid for them. But either way, you know, definitely you should send your likes and your questions. And Molly, you're a big participator, so thank you very, very much. I do have ads on my podcast, so that's cool. Any extra, you know, gotta have multiple income streams, etc. Molly said, I will love them to benefit you. Thank you very much, Molly. You're a diehard top fan. All right, 50 people still watching. Please do send your likes and your loves and your... Appreciate you doing these. You're welcome, Clive. You could ask any other questions that you have. Molly says, I'm about to dive into your Spotify free episode soon. Good. There are 150 other paid episodes. So there's about, I don't know how many paid episodes. There's about there's about 600 episodes and about 150 of them are paid. So that's a lot of content. They're usually about 15-20 minutes, around 15 minutes, I'd say. And people really like them. Years ago, people wanted me to do a podcast, and I was like, I don't even listen to podcasts. The hell am I going to do a podcast for? But people seem to really like them. I don't have to schedule them. I mean, I schedule them out, but I don't have to schedule when I record them because I don't have guests. So it's like kind of whenever I can do it, I do it. And so then that works out. Candace told Molly that she should listen because they are awesome. Thank you very much, Candace. Very nice. And I frequently do podcasts based on stuff that arises in the secret group, topics that we talk about. So if you guys want to have any say into, I mean, it's really just what kind of catches my fancy in the secret group, but sometimes I do take requests. My most recent one, I took requests about like how to tell your wife or how your wife should reject you if she doesn't want to have sex. So I did a couple videos on that. So you guys should have listened to that one. All right, I'm going to take one more question. Who has one more question? I will take one more question. And if you guys are on Medium, you should also be reading me on Medium, by the way. Medium's pretty cool. You get all of your blog posts in one place. It's all stuff from the drpsychmom.com website, so you don't have to worry if you're not on Medium. But for the people who are, it's cool because the more people read you, you know, and sometimes I get boosted. Sometimes they say that something I did is going to be boosted in the parenting section or something. So that's cool. Okay, one more. Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that's not a question. He says, these lives are so popular now. So many people. Back in the day, it used to be just me and you. Well, if I go on Instagram, it can still be just me and you. Sure, yeah. Maybe I'll do that. Molly says, maybe I'll look into Medium. Is it free? It is not free, Molly. Matt says, do you ever send out when you're going live? No. That is why I can go live, Matt, because it doesn't turn into something like that. So it's not like another like bullshit thing that I have to do. Instead, it's just whenever I have time in between clients or whatever. But if you follow me, then it tells you when I go live. So you could just jump on your phone and ask a question. Or, of course, you could just do a thread in the secret group, and then I do that too. But, you know, then I answer, I jump on those also. But I still didn't get like an official question. So if I have one more question, Olga says you're the best. Thank you, Olga, you're the best. So if anybody has one more actual psychology question, I will take it. An actual psychology question, you know, about people or whatever. But, or you could just ask whatever you want. But something about, you know, relationships, parenting, people, self, career, depression, anxiety, trauma, the stuff that I do, the stuff of psychology. And if y'all ever need a therapist, reach out to my practice, Best Life Behavioral Health. I have relationship coaches working for me. I have therapists. There's me, myself. I don't have a lot of openings, but there's still me. And if you cannot work with me or you can't afford to work with me or whatever, I have plenty of people. We don't accept insurance, but we do provide a super bill if it's not coaching. Coaching is not health care, but it is still good. But if it's therapy, we do provide a super bill, and you could submit that if you have out-of-network benefits. We don't do that on our end, but you can look into that and submit those if you want. Shori says, is background noise from TV making you dysregulated a sign of depression? I wouldn't imagine. That's just being a highly sensitive person. But if you notice some large uptick in how irritable you are, then that is a sign of depression. So if that's what you mean, then that's a sign of depression. Irritability is a symptom. So if the background noise was always okay and now you want to die, then, you know, I'd look into it, right, to see if it's winter-related depression. If you quit constant THC after being put on mental health meds, will your mental health... Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you were using any substance constantly and now you're not, then you should definitely discuss that with your doctor, you know, for sure. So definitely, I am not an MD. I can't give you medical advice, but I would definitely tell that to my doctor, Molly, because you may react way differently, you know, and you may need a different dose. It's like drinking all the time and taking a sedative. Like, that would be very bad, and you would also, like, sleep a lot more than if you were taking a sedative and not drinking. So you got to just think about it just commonsensically. Talk to your provider. Clive says, do any of your other therapists follow your style, meaning topics, kind of content on your podcast? All of them. Everybody that I hire is sex positive and comfortable discussing sex in session. They are not me. But you know, there's, everybody has their own personalities. I hire people I like, so there's that, but everybody's their own person. If you want the person that I use mostly for relationship coaching, is Kat Roebuck. So you could reach out. She works everywhere, all states, all countries. I'm going to be hiring another couple of relationship coaches soon as well. And I just hired one guy, but his profile is not active yet because he's not on the page yet. But I'm going to have a guy. But I think, Clive, if you like me, then the best person I could refer you to, assuming that you're not in Maryland, is Kat Roebuck. So you should reach out, and she does individual work and couples work. Let me check to see. And she has lots and lots of availability. Well, no, she doesn't. That's a lie. But she has more availability than I do. She's quickly filling up, though, which is why I had to hire other relationship coaches. So, yeah, you should totally reach out. Anybody should if you want somebody to work with you individually, which is obviously, I mean, there's only so much you can get from listening to me, as brilliant as Clive here thinks I am. It's still better to be working with somebody on your individual stuff, you know? Molly says, all states and counties except Maryland. No, Molly, I have the most people in Maryland because I'm in Maryland. So, many people that are my therapists, they work in Maryland. So where are you located, Molly? Because then I can help you. But, so tell me where you're located, because then I could refer somebody to you. But what I'm saying is that Kat is a coach, so she could work everywhere. And the other relationship coaches that I'm hiring can work everywhere. But for therapists, you have to be licensed in certain places. Now, I'm licensed through SciPact, so that's like a whole bunch of that's an interstate compact that allows psychologists, if they join, to practice in many states. And I also do coaching as well. But my therapists that work for me, most of them, some of them are in Maryland, Virginia, DC, like things like that. And I have people that work in Colorado. I mean, I have a bunch of states, but only coaches can just work in every state and country. You're in upstate New York. So yeah, Kat would be able to work with you if like it doesn't work out with whoever you're working with, you know, and you want to make more progress. Candace says, my 9-year-old was present when my father passed on Sunday. It was peaceful in his sleep. She is now fearful of falling asleep. I am giving reassurance, but a little lost in the moment. Any suggestions? I have stuff about death, about talking about death with your kids on my site. You could look up death on Dr. Psych Mom. But that would be like totally normal. I mean, he passed like a week ago, and I'm sorry, of course, to hear that. My condolences. But this has only been a week. So, I mean, she's just like acclimating, and you can just be very, very, you know, confident momentum. Like, of course, people do not die in their sleep. I see, you know, obviously that was a very unusual thing to happen. We're all very sad. You're 9 years old. Nothing's going to happen to you. You know, I'm very confident, 100% nothing's going to happen to you. And sometimes when parents are just very reassuring, then that can help. Of course, if it doesn't go away, then a child psychologist or a child therapist can help. Matt says, Florida for Kat. Yes, guys, listen to what I'm saying. Kat can work anywhere. You're not going to be able to give me a place that she can't work. She can work on Mars. She can work anywhere, because coaching is not like that. You do not have to be licensed in a specific place. So Matt, reach out for sure. Kat can work in Florida, 1,000%. So can I, by the way, and so can my therapist Meredith Fudernick, based on your needs. But Kat can work anywhere. So reach out. I don't know if you need individual, couples, or what you need to work on. Sometimes it's beyond the purview of coaching. If there are various mental health issues that you tell me about, then I could say it's not a good fit for coaching. You would need a therapist. But either way, you should reach out, because Kat is great. And of course, all my providers are great, but she's the one that could work pretty much anywhere. Sorry, my bad. Anywhere. Couples, yes, so she could do relationship coaching there. I could also work with people in Florida doing couples. Meredith does not usually do couples, sometimes, but that wouldn't be who you are trying to work with. Candace says, thank you, maybe I needed a little reassurance in my helping her through as well. Yeah, sure, just be like completely confident. This is not the moment to be like, oh honey, what are you feeling? Like, you know what she's feeling. She's anxious. So your job is to kind of roll in there like, don't worry, everything's fine. I love you. I'm sad. I'm going to be grieving this loss, but I'm here for you, etc. But nothing is going to happen to you 100% at all. You know, and sometimes parents won't do that nowadays, and that's like what works, because our children evolutionarily are supposed to listen to us. Did you ever see the visual cliff experiment, where the baby, it's like a glass floor, and so that when the baby's crawling, they can look right through. And if the mother acts happy and confident on the other side, the baby crawls right over it, even though to them it looks like they're going through the air, and that shit would be scary, you would think, but the baby goes right across, no problems. If on the other side the mother acts anxious, the baby will not go over the visual cliff. And so the best way to help your child with any anxiety is to be confident. And many people can't do that, so then they have to go to therapy to figure out how to deal with their own anxiety. The best way to treat anxiety in your children is by treating your own anxiety. I firmly believe that 1,000%. All right, guys, thank you so much for participating. Please send likes. And join the secret group. Reach out. Again, Kat can work anywhere. And I have loads of providers that could work in your individual states, etc. So just reach out. Those are the private messages that I do look forward to, or info@bestlifebehavioralhealth.com. Molly said that was such a helpful tidbit. Well, I have a lot of stuff on anxiety, Molly. I have a whole section. So look on drpsychmom.com. Just click on the anxiety section. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys. not letting me leave. Strange.